So we're a little over a week away from Jon Jones's upcoming title defense against Anthony Smith, and in the lead up, he did some pre-fight press work. And I'm going to show a tweet that he recently put out. So one of the guys he talked to was Mike Bohn, who is with USA Today, which I believe is affiliated with MMA Junkie. But he put out a tweet fairly recently saying, "Mike Bohn, we will never speak again. Hope you enjoyed the opportunity. Wish you nothing but the best." Now it's worth mentioning this isn't the first time that Jon Jones has had issues with reporters. I guess I'll just play the video that you saw before. So this was a more famous one with Luke Thomas, where he had a bit of an issue with him at a press conference. So let's play that clip.
Jon, now you're 30 now, so I'm wondering, as you turn 30, like on the 19th of July, what would you say about your 20s? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it somewhere in between? How would you look back on that decade in your life?
I don't really like you, Luke, so I'm not going to answer your question.
Yeah, so that was kind of like a famous thing there. Now, it wasn't entirely clear why he had the issue with Luke Thomas. I think a lot of fans, especially you guys at Twitter accounts, probably aren't all that high on Luke Thomas. He does provide some good analysis, but he's also a bit of a jackass at times. So it seems like some of the stuff that seems to rub a lot of fans the wrong way may have also rubbed Jon Jones the wrong way. That could be an issue, or he just didn't like some of the analysis that Luke Thomas did that wasn't really positive to him. Not exactly clear what the issue was there. But as far as the specific case right now with Mike Bohn, so I saw this and I want to see, well, what exactly did Mike Bohn say that could have caused this issue? So we'll go through to his profile. And this is a tweet that I believe is probably where the issues stems from. So I guess while they were having the interview, Mike Bohn, and I'll read this tweet off, it said, "Just had the chance to speak with Jon Jones and asked him if he has any thoughts or reflections on GSP's retirement. His answer, no." And then one of the top replies to that was, "Why would he? I don't like the man as much as the next guy, but they never been in the same weight class. Why would he ever have an opinion on either, or why would either have an opinion on the other?" And then Mike Bohn's response was, "Well, almost every prominent figure in MMA has come out giving thoughts on GSP. They've trained at the same gym, Jackson Wink, and spent plenty of time together. Certainly a relevant question." And I agree with Mike Bohn that it is a relevant question. It does seem kind of weird if this is true that GSP, who has been through the Jackson camp, although it's kind of like a weird affiliation with also TriStar as a hobby. But even still, even if they weren't affiliated, you would figure that Jon Jones, who has shown respect to some of the other greats in the sport, would have some kind of comment on GSP, even if it was something cheesy like, "Oh, well, great career, wish him the best." Like, for him to just say, "No, I don't have any thoughts," that seems kind of odd. It seems like there may be some animosity there. It's not clear why there would be animosity. Maybe GSP said something about Jon that Jon didn't particularly care for. I know the two of them kind of have opposite public images, where Jon's kind of known for getting in trouble with the law and maybe not doing things the right way, whereas GSP is kind of looked at as this guy who always does everything the right way. So maybe there's some issues there where Jon sees that GSP kind of has some edges to his life that he doesn't really allow publicly, and people think of him a little differently than he should be. I don't know what the issue is there, but apparently he had a problem with that. The other place I went to see where an issue could be is the article he actually wrote. So this is the article that came after their interview, and this is with MMA Junkie. And I read through the article, and it really didn't seem like that abnormal. It just seemed like a pretty standard article, something that really, I guess if you're interested in the fight, it's something you'd read, but really kind of boring and not stating anything all that interesting, because Jon Jones wasn't exactly giving interesting answers here. So it's just Mike Bohn talking about all the normal stuff leading up to a fight. So Jon Jones is looking to keep busy. His last fight was against Alex Gustafsson, had a third round TKO, just kind of summing that up. Has some quotes from Jon Jones here. "I keep arguing myself whether I'm going to go once a quarter or just 3 times a year in terms of how many times he's going to fight this year. His goal is to be active. Usually his feet hurt after fights because he's a heavy kicker. Hopefully he'll be able to get right back to training and just stay active. That's his goal." Talking about the date that the UFC 235 is going to happen. Talking about Anthony Smith's background. Then a quote from Jon Jones about Smith. So just saying, when the camp started, I didn't know anything about him really. I know I've been studying him. I see he's a worthy opponent. To everyone else, he's a gigantic underdog, but I take him very seriously. Just more really standard stuff that could apply to literally any other opponent that Jon Jones ever fights. So it's not like it's a terribly interesting quote or something that puts him in a bad light. It just seems really standard. Then there's another thing. Is there anything that Smith does that Jon hasn't seen? He's like, well, he's on a nice win streak, so I guess he's confident. I'm also confident because I'm on a long win streak. Then talking about possibly fighting DC, but there's really nothing here that's really all that interesting or all that bad. So if I had to guess what the issue was, either during the interview, Mike Bohn might have asked some other questions in addition to the GSP question that Jon Jones just didn't like, and that's where his issues stem from, or his issue is this whole GSP thing. Because the article itself isn't. I mean, it's just not. It's very. It's not harsh at all. So to me, it looks like Jones just seems to be taking issue with the fact that Bohn is putting out this this idea that Jon Jones and GSP have some sort of beef, or that Jon Jones doesn't particularly care for GSP. Which, if the tweet's true, it seems like that's definitely the case. But maybe Jones just didn't want this to be brought up, or maybe Jones just doesn't like the idea that in a time when everyone's praising GSP, it's one of those things where it's like if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And Jon Jones seems to at least have tried to do the whole not say anything at all, to the point where he's just saying no when he's asked for comment. So if you're thinking to yourself, don't say anything. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. He's not saying anything at all, and people are still ragging on you for not being nice. Like I can understand the frustration there, but it seems odd that would be enough for him to just blacklist Mike Bohn and not ever want to talk to him again, especially with him being a part of MMA Junkie, which is a pretty big website in the MMA media. So we'll see where this goes from here. I wonder if Mike Bohn has anything to say about that, if he can shed some more light on what happened, if he actually knows what the issue was, whether it was the GSP thing or something else. And then as far as Jon Jones goes, I mean, I guess he doesn't have to be friendly to all media. It'd still be nice for him to talk to some media. You don't want to have a Ronda Rousey situation leading up to the Nunes fight where she wouldn't talk to anyone. So it's still good to have Jones talking to some people in the media. It seems like Ariel Helwani sometimes gets on his good side, at least enough to do some interviews with him. He'll do like the stuff that he's required to do, but it's not always great when you have a guy like Jon Jones, who's a superstar in the sport, where the more press he does, the better. Making enemies with a lot of people in the press and not wanting to talk to him. Luke's one thing, because Luke tends to make enemies with a lot of people, but I've never really seen any issues with Mike Bohn before, and this seems fairly mild, but we'll see where it goes from here.